Karen pulled my wife's hair in public. 3 minutes later, my Marine brother tackled her. Some women carry purses. Karen carried judgment and used it like a weapon. The day she grabbed my wife by the hair in the middle of our town's weekend market, she thought no one would stop her. But 3 minutes later, my brother, 6'3", Marine recon, fresh off deployment, made sure she'd never raise her hand like that again. And what started as one woman's outburst turned into a national reckoning. Part 1. People talk about losing control like it's a moment, a snap. But when it happened to me, it didn't feel like a snap. It felt like a rope unraveling in my chest, slow, painful, and then suddenly gone. I lost control when I saw that woman's hand in my wife's hair. My name is Desmond Carter, 39. I'm a speech therapist, husband, father, and unofficially full-time fixer of tense situations. My wife, Alana, says I have firehouse calm, the kind of patience that could outlast a hurricane. But that patience didn't last the 3 minutes it took my brother to sprint across the farmer's market and level the woman who just assaulted the person I love most in this world. The woman's name, Karen Wellington, president of the Woodgrove Community Aesthetics Task Group, which, by the way, is code for One Woman Fake HOA. Alana and I moved to Woodgrove just over a year ago. Quiet neighborhood, tree-lined streets, big enough to breathe, small enough to walk the dog in peace. We bought the house after Alana's MS diagnosis. She needed a single-story home. Fewer stairs, wider doorways. The move meant giving up a lot, but it gave us hope. Alana's strength has never been loud. It's quiet, steady, graceful. Even when she walks with a cane or grips my hand tighter on cold days, she holds herself like nothing can touch her. But Karen tried. We first met Karen at the neighborhood welcoming brunch. She scanned us like a barcode black, mid-30s, not in her imagined mold of Woodgrove. "You're the couple from 228 Fairway?" she asked. "Yes," Alana said cheerfully. Karen's smile barely moved. "Your car's a bit sporty for the block, and I hope you'll consider removing that yard sign. Some people find political statements upsetting. It wasn't a political sign. It was a simple Black Lives Matter garden flag. We didn't remove it. Karen didn't forget it. After that, the notices began. Handwritten notes in our mailbox about violations, trash cans being visible, flowers planted in unauthorized colors, and complaints about excessive affection on public sidewalks after Alana kissed me on the cheek during a morning walk. She signed everything, WCA Task Group Chairwoman. We checked there was no WCA, no registered HOA, just Karen. We let it slide. We smiled, waved, ignored, but it kept escalating. The Saturday it happened was bright, breezy market day. Alana wanted to pick up sunflowers. I wanted jam, and my brother, Marcus, had just flown in on leave after 8 months deployed with the U.S. Marine Corps. Marcus is built like a brick wall, quiet but protective. You know the type. He surveys a space before sitting down, always keeps his back to a wall, never raises his voice unless he means it. Alana loved having him there. They joked constantly, called each other Trouble One and Trouble Two. That morning, we walked through the market together, laughing, picking up peaches. Everything felt normal until Karen showed up. She came out of nowhere. White linen jacket, pearl earrings, clipboard in hand, eyes like she'd been waiting for this moment. She stormed up to our table, where Alana was chatting with a flower vendor. "I told you not to bring that cane through the market," Karen snapped, loud enough for nearby shoppers to turn. Alana blinked. "Excuse me," Karen pointed. "You're blocking ADA access. This is for real disabled people." The world stopped moving. My breath caught. "What did you just say?" I asked, stepping between them. Karen didn't blink. "She uses that cane like it's a weapon. She's in everyone's way. This whole town is going downhill because of people like you." Marcus took a step forward, voice low. "Ma'am, I suggest you." But then it happened. Karen lunged forward, grabbed a fistful of Alana's curls, yanked. Alana screamed. The vendor dropped a vase. It shattered. Karen pulled again. That was the moment my rope snapped. I started to move, but Marcus moved first. 3 seconds. That's how long it took for his instincts to kick in. 1 second to assess, 1 to cross the distance, and 1 second to take Karen down. He didn't hit her. He didn't need to. He swept her legs in one fluid motion and pinned her face down in the gravel. She shrieked like a kettle. "I'm being attacked. This is a hate crime." Someone yelled, "I'm recording another voice." She attacked that woman, and then sirens. The police arrived within 5 minutes. 2 officers, both white, looked uncertain as they stepped into the chaos. But the crowd was already shouting. She pulled her hair unprovoked. She was harassing them all year. Marcus stood back, hands raised, calm as stone. Alana sat on the curb, shaking, cradling her scalp, eyes wide with shock and pain. I knelt beside her, rage still throbbing in my veins. "She said I didn't count," Alana whispered. "She said my cane wasn't real." Witnesses came forward immediately. 4 video angles. Clear audio. Karen, red-faced and still screaming, was handcuffed and taken into custody. Charges: assault, hate-motivated public harassment, attempted obstruction of access, false claims of public authority. That night, the footage exploded online. Within 12 hours, the clip of Marcus tackling Karen had 2.3 million views on TikTok. The top comment read, "She pulled a disabled black woman's hair and thought there'd be no consequences. She met the Marines." Another, "This is why you don't mess with family, especially black family." People rallied behind us. Disability advocates, veterans, civil rights leaders. What started as a quiet market moment had become a national flashpoint. But for me, all I could think about was the way Alana shook when I held her. The way her voice broke when she said, "I tried so hard to be normal." And I knew then this wasn't just a one-woman problem. It was a system, a fake authority, allowed to fester. A town that had been letting Karen operate unchecked. A culture of politeness in the face of cruelty. But not anymore. Because Marcus tackled more than a woman that day. He tackled the lie that civility is more important than justice. Part 2. They say the clipboard is a harmless thing, a symbol of order, checklists, maybe a little harmless oversight. But when Karen Wellington wielded one, it wasn't a tool, it was a weapon. And now that she was behind bars on assault charges, I finally had a reason and the community support to rip apart everything that clipboard had built. The morning after the market incident, I sat at our kitchen table with Marcus, still in his Marine hoodie, sipping black coffee like it was his only anchor. Alana was asleep upstairs. The ER had cleared her of any concussion, but the bruising on her scalp was already visible. I stared at the printed photos from the market footage. Karen mid-lunge, my wife mid-scream, Marcus mid-tackle. "This isn't over," I said. Marcus nodded. "I know. What if I told you Karen's had a grip on this whole block for years, that she created her own HOA from thin air and used it to threaten people? Then I'd say it's time we pull back the curtain." I started with the mailbox. Over the past year, Karen had left us more than 25 letters, all unsigned, but marked with her fake organization's name, WCA Task Group. Each one included a new policy, community citation, or resident expectation. None were legal. None came from the city. She printed them on thick parchment paper, embossed with a seal that looked official. On closer inspection, the Latin words misspelled, a fake crest, an eagle holding, a rake. She was serious about her brand of authoritarian gardening. I went door to door. Some neighbors closed the door quickly. Others whispered. She fined us for using a hammock in front. She said our wind chimes were disruptive to property values. She threatened to report my daughter's wheelchair ramp. But one neighbor, Mr. Garrison, a Korean War vet in his 80s, invited me in and showed me something chilling. A binder, a full binder of fake violations, stamped, categorized, logged, dating back 5 years. She said it was for record keeping. He said, I didn't want trouble. I just paid the fines. I flipped through it. $100 for excessive porch lighting, $75 for out-of-season flower beds, $150 for non-conforming curtain color visible from sidewalk. She had printed them with fine lines and footnotes referencing statutes that didn't exist. She'd forged an entire parallel government. I gathered every document, scanned them, labeled them. I called in a friend at the local paper, the Brookhaven Ledger. Her name was Natalie Hu. She specialized in public corruption. She took one look at the files and said, "Oh, this is going to burn." While Natalie began fact-checking, Marcus started asking around in the veteran community. Within a week, he found 2 other black families who'd moved away from Woodgrove after repeated harassment by Karen. One, the Johnsons, said she had filed noise complaints every Friday night for their culturally inappropriate music. They were playing Coltrane. The other, the Martinez family, had received anonymous tips warning of ICE raids after their teenage son hosted a birthday party. They left town a month later. She wasn't just biased, Marcus said. She was targeting anyone who made the block look different than her. Then came the twist we didn't expect. Natalie dug into Karen's financials. Though her committee wasn't officially registered, she had a PayPal and Venmo listed under WCA Civic Enforcement. Turns out residents had sent her over $14,000 in fake fines across 4 years. She'd been collecting money for non-existent violations. Tax-free, unreported, unregulated. That was fraud. Federal. Natalie broke the story 2 days later. Front page headline, "The Clipboard Queen of Woodgrove." How a fake HOA ruled a real town within hours. It went viral. News crews showed up. So did lawyers. Residents who had once been silent came forward. A single dad with a disabled daughter. A young couple who'd painted their shutters blue. A Nigerian immigrant family who left after their landscaping didn't blend with neighborhood standards. Karen's reach wasn't limited to us. It had changed lives, ruined them, and now it was all crashing down. The mayor issued a statement. "We deeply regret the lack of oversight that allowed Ms. Wellington to impersonate civic authority. Effective immediately, we are launching an investigation into community abuse." The county followed, and then the state, and Karen, now facing trial not just for assault, but for wire fraud, harassment, civil rights violations, and impersonating a public official was suddenly no longer smug. Her lawyer filed for plea deals. The DA refused. "This is bigger than assault," the prosecutor said. "This is about terrorizing a neighborhood under the guise of order." The hardest part, seeing the bruises on Alana fade while the emotional scars deepened. She tried to stay strong, but the first time she walked back through the market, every head turned, not in disgust, in support. Still, she flinched. I squeezed her hand. "Want to go home?" She nodded. "Not yet. I want to finish the walk." And so we did. People clapped. One woman handed her sunflowers. A man offered a jar of jam. No one called it activism. They just called it right. At home. Marcus pulled me aside. "You think she was always like this?" he asked. I thought about it. No, but power like that, unquestioned, unchecked, it makes monsters. He nodded. "Good thing we brought the light." That week, the city passed the Community Truth Act. It required full transparency of any group acting as a neighborhood authority, registration with the Municipal Oversight Committee, criminal penalties for impersonating civic officials, financial restitution for proven harassment victims. Karen was listed in the statute's preamble. Her name, her actions, a permanent reminder. Marcus returned to base after 2 more weeks. On his last night, he gave Alana a dog tag he'd worn through his last deployment. She held it like it was made of glass. "You're tougher than half the Marines I've trained with," he told her. "You tackled a 58-year-old HOA lunatic." She laughed. "We're even." They hugged. We cried. Karen awaits sentencing now. She'll serve time. Pay back what she stole. Never step foot in a position of authority again. But more than that, she became the tipping point. The reason this town finally looked at itself, as for me, I still fix things. I just don't stay quiet anymore. Not when a clipboard turns into a weapon, not when a cane becomes a target, not when a woman who deserves flowers gets pulled down instead. Part 3. The courtroom was colder than I expected, not just from the air conditioning, but from the silence. That heavy kind of hush where everyone's waiting for something to snap. Karen Wellington sat at the defense table with her arms crossed, her pearl earrings replaced with a simple gray blazer. She looked smaller now, not physically but in presence. The clipboard queen of Woodgrove, now just a defendant. The judge entered. The room stood. And just like that, the reckoning began. Alana and I sat together, front row, hand in hand. She wore a head wrap to cover the healing spot where Karen had torn her hair out. The bruising had faded. The memory hadn't. This wasn't just about a single assault. It was about years of pretending that cruelty was just concern, that fake fines were neighborhood order, that public harassment was civic engagement. That morning, the state of Virginia versus Karen Wellington included second-degree assault with intent to harm, harassment motivated by perceived disability, wire fraud, impersonation of civic authority, civil rights obstruction, false claim of official status. The courtroom had overflow seating and a live feed in the City Hall annex. She wasn't just on trial. The entire idea of fake authority was. The prosecution opened strong. Morella Harris, the assistant district attorney, stood tall. This case isn't about neighborhood disputes. It's about a pattern of abuse. A woman created a fictitious government, terrorized her neighbors with made-up laws, and then physically assaulted a disabled woman in broad daylight because she believed she was untouchable. Then she turned to the jury. You will see videos. You will read letters. You will hear from neighbors, officers, even city officials. And by the end, you will understand what we all see now. This wasn't civic duty. It was targeted discrimination, wrapped in authority she never earned. Karen's attorney tried to spin it. He claimed she was overwhelmed by changing community demographics, that her actions were a misguided but passionate defense of standards, that the incident at the market was an emotional lapse, not a hate crime. And then, unbelievably, he suggested she was the victim. She's been publicly humiliated, received death threats, lost her business. Isn't that punishment enough? No one in the courtroom blinked. We weren't here for sympathy. We were here for accountability. The evidence began. First, the video Karen pulling Alana's hair. Alana screaming, Marcus's takedown, Karen's shrieking accusations. Then, the letters, the fake HOA notices, printed with false legalese and compliance directives, the payment records, screenshots of money collected from residents, email threads referencing watch lists for problem houses. Each one dug the hole deeper. Then came the testimonies. Mrs. Lopez, whose rose bush was cited for being too culturally themed. Mr. Chang, fined $50 for placing a Buddha statue on his porch. A teen named Devon, whose music was called gang-affiliated because it included drums. Every person told the same story. They were targeted, singled out, told they were violating community values, threatened with fines, reports, even neighborhood expulsion. None of it real, all of it effective until now. Then it was Alana's turn. She wheeled to the stand slowly. The entire courtroom leaned in. She cleared her throat. Calm, steady. My name is Alana Carter. I'm a wife, a therapist, a neighbor. And 3 weeks ago, I was publicly assaulted because I walk with a cane. She held up the cane, not as a crutch, as a symbol. Karen Wellington said I didn't belong, that I was ruining her view. She didn't just pull my hair. She pulled at the thread of my dignity, and she did it because she thought no one would stop her. She looked at Karen, no hate in her eyes, but someone did. She nodded toward Marcus. And now this court will too. I was next. I told them about the mailbox notes, the fake violation fees, The night Karen yelled at Alana for limping too loudly on our morning walks. And I ended with this: I've spent my life helping people find their voice. Karen spent hers trying to silence ours. But when she laid hands on my wife, she crossed into something primal. And I thank God my brother was there to finish what the law had taken too long to start. Marcus testified too. Direct, military calm. She posed an immediate threat. I neutralized it. The judge raised an eyebrow. Are you trained in restraint? Yes, Your Honor. Marine Corps Force Recon. He paused. She assaulted a civilian. I responded appropriately. I did not injure her. I did not escalate. He turned to the jury. But I will never apologize for defending my family. Karen finally spoke on the fourth day. It was more of the same. I was scared. I only ever wanted to keep the neighborhood safe. I never intended harm. But the moment that sealed her fate, when she said, people like them come in and don't understand how communities work. Gasps. Even her attorney froze. The judge didn't interrupt. She didn't need to. That sentence did more than all our evidence. It showed the jury what they were really looking at. Deliberation took 8 hours. The verdict: guilty, on all counts. Sentencing was swift: 12 years in state prison. Restitution of $18,000 to affected residents. Permanent ban from holding any civic office or position of neighborhood oversight. Karen didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just sat there, staring at her empty clipboard as if it had failed her. The courtroom applauded when the judge read the restitution clause. And when we stepped outside, the crowd waiting clapped for Alana. Not because she was a victim, but because she stayed. Later that night, Alana looked out the window, quiet. She thought that clipboard made her powerful. She said, I nodded. It made her dangerous. She lost it all. No, I said. She lost the lie. She never had real power. We just forgot to say no. That night, Alana placed her cane beside the bed and turned to me. Let's start something, she said. What kind of something? A group? For people who've been harassed by fake HOAs? We can call it the clipboard resistance? I laughed and then said, let's do it. Because the trial was over, but the fight for belonging that was just beginning. Part 4. There was a time when neighbors only came together for block parties and bake sales. Now they were gathering for something bigger. Justice, truth, protection. And it all started with a single spreadsheet called Clipboard Watch. 3 weeks after the sentencing, Alana and I sat at the kitchen table, laptops open, with 2 cups of black tea and a mission document every known fake HOA in our county. It started with our own neighborhood, Wood Grove. Then it spread to the surrounding ones, Redbud Hills, Twin Lakes, Garden Row. Every entry was the same unregistered civic group, fake notices or fines, discrimination disguised as compliance, a single person or clique acting as an unregulated authority. What surprised us wasn't how many there were. It was how many people had been waiting for someone, anyone, to stand up. Emails poured in. She told me my Black Santa decoration violated seasonal cohesion. We were fined $50 because our daughter's wheelchair ramp was painted blue instead of beige. He wrote us up for putting a mezuzah on our door. Dozens. Then hundreds. That's when we launched the group officially, Clipboard Resistance, a network for exposing fake HOAs and holding bad faith enforcers accountable. Our motto: you don't need a title to stand your ground. We built a simple site, a place to submit reports, upload scans, connect with free legal resources, and organize resistance. Within a month, we had over 200 members from 12 states. By the end of the second month, the ACLU had reached out to collaborate on a national task force. Marcus, still on leave, offered to run security workshops. They think they can scare people into moving, he told one crowd. But most of these fake enforcers fold the moment they're challenged. They rely on you being silent. He taught how to document encounters, how to record legally, what to say when threatened with fake legal notices, and most importantly, how to unite. Lone victims become quiet statistics, he said, but communities that link arms become unstoppable. One Saturday afternoon, we held our first official event, Freedom to Flourish Day, no permits needed, no permission asked, just people, neighbors, stories. We set up in a local park. Music played. Food trucks rolled in. Kids ran under handmade signs. At noon, Alana took the mic. Her voice was calm, but it carried. Some of us were told our plants were too wild. Some of us were told our flags were too loud, our bodies too broken, our cultures too visible. But today we reclaim the space they tried to manage with fake power and real prejudice. We are done being polite while being erased. A cheer rose, not one of defiance, one of recognition. After the event, a man approached us, white, late 60s, weathered eyes. "I'm sorry," he said. We blinked. He swallowed. I helped Karen install her cameras. I didn't ask questions. I thought she was just keeping things nice. Alana took his hand. "You ask now. That matters." He nodded. "How can I help fix it?" She smiled. "Stay. Listen. Speak when others are silenced." From that day on, our meetings doubled. We heard stories of tenants evicted after fake notices scared landlords. Mixed-race families threatened for clashing aesthetics. Military veterans fined for displaying service flags. And in each case, we connected them with help and with each other. But resistance doesn't grow without pushback. 2 weeks into our expansion, someone painted "Stop dividing us" across our car. Another night, we found a rock on our porch wrapped in a note, "Leave the neighborhood alone." Some order is good. Alana stared at it for a moment, then tossed the rock into the garden. "Let's grow something on it," she said. Then came a major shift. A whistleblower from a major HOA management firm reached out anonymously. He had internal documents showing that some legitimate HOAs had partnered with local enforcers to target homes based on race, disability, and religion without leaving a paper trail. The orders were verbal, the pressure informal, but the effect just as real. We handed the files to the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Within weeks, a federal investigation was launched. Karen's case, it turned out, was only the tip of the iceberg. Meanwhile, the media called. CNN, NPR, the New York Times. They wanted to profile us. We declined most, but we agreed to one televised town hall, hosted by PBS, focused on neighborhood harassment and the future of fair housing. The moderator introduced us simply: Desmond and Alana Carter, ordinary neighbors, extraordinary truth-tellers. Alana wore the same rap from court. She didn't smile much, but when she did, it felt like sunrise after a storm. She told the audience, "I didn't want to fight, but when someone tells you that your presence is a problem, your cane is a threat, and your marriage lowers property values, you either shrink or you stand." People stood, applauded. That segment aired in over 40 markets. Clipboard resistance became a national movement. State senators reached out to draft the Community Power Transparency Act, a law requiring public registration of all civic enforcement bodies, mandatory training in anti-discrimination and AD compliance, independent oversight boards for neighborhood disputes. And they named us as advisors. We weren't just fighting back anymore. We were rebuilding the rules. But the most powerful moment came on the day we returned to the market, the exact same corner where Karen had yanked Alana's hair. This time, there was no fear. There were neighbors, vendors, musicians, and a new sign installed in bronze near the flower booth. On this spot, silence was broken. On this day, belonging bloomed, in honor of every neighbor who refused to be erased. We didn't ask permission to install it. We just did it, and no one objected. Not this time. Now, every Friday, Ilana and I take a walk through Woodgrove. We stop, we greet, we wave. There are still whispers, still fences we haven't climbed. But the difference: we're not alone anymore. The resistance has grown, and it has roots. Part 5. The last time Karen Wellington made a rule, she wrote it in all caps on fake HOA stationery and taped it to our front door. The last rule she ever got to make was in a courtroom when the judge read her sentencing and ordered she never again hold any position of neighborhood authority. Now, The new rules were ours, and they weren't written in fear. They were rooted in something stronger truth. 6 months had passed since the market incident. 6 months since Karen pulled Alana's hair in public and got tackled to the ground by my brother. 6 months since the community stopped pretending she was just strict or misunderstood. 6 months since clipboard resistance became a national movement. And now, we were building something lasting. Not a response, a framework. The Community Belonging Bill, as it was now called, passed its first vote in our city council chambers on a rainy Monday night in June. The bill required any group issuing neighborhood notices or citations to be registered, with officers elected and bylaws publicly posted. Clear anti-discrimination and accessibility protections, tied to federal ADA and fair housing standards. A grievance hotline and ombudsman for any resident who felt harassed by civic actors. Transparent financial reporting for any group that collects dues or fines. It also offered something symbolic but essential: the right to display identity, whether through flags, language, ramps, cultural art, religious items, or family structure without fear of retribution by self-appointed enforcers. The language was clear. Karen's system had died. Ours was born. Marcus was stationed back in California now, but he FaceTimed us the night it passed. He grinned, toothpick in his mouth like always. "You two are still trouble. Only the good kind," Alana said, blowing him a kiss. "You sure you don't want to move closer to base? I hear San Diego farmers markets are tamer." Alana laughed. "No fake HOAs to topple there." He smirked. "I'll send you a mission if I find one." We made the news again, this time in a way that felt different. Not sensational. Solid. PBS called us community builders. The ACLU called us a model. Even Good Morning America ran a segment titled "From Assault to Advocacy," how one couple changed the rules. But we weren't doing it for headlines. We were doing it because we remembered what it felt like to be afraid in our own driveway. And we wanted to make sure no one else had to feel that again. Clipboard resistance chapters open in 27 states. We created an online database of verified HOAs and known frauds. We built a mobile app for reporting abuse with auto-forwarding to local authorities. And we created a resource hub for renters, seniors, people with disabilities, and immigrants, those most often targeted. In our home county alone, over 1,000 residents reported fake citations or neighborhood harassment in the past 5 years. Now they had backup. Now they had us. One of our proudest accomplishments came that fall. We helped a group of high school students launch their own youth civic watchdog council. Alana mentored them. She gave them the same advice she once gave her therapy clients. Don't just react to harm. Create systems that make it harder to happen in the first place. The students proposed and passed a new rule in the local district. Any adult engaging with minors in a neighborhood enforcement capacity must undergo bias and de-escalation training. They held workshops, wrote editorials. By graduation, 3 of them had scholarships to study civil rights law. They called Alana Coach Kane. She cried when she found out. The town had changed. You could feel it in the little things. Neighbors painted their doors bold colors again. Ramps were decorated, not hidden. Wind chimes played freely. Porch flags flew in every hue, language, and culture. The silence Karen once enforced was gone. In its place, music. But we knew we hadn't ended discrimination. We'd only exposed one of its many faces. Karen was a symptom, the system that let her act with impunity. That's what we had to keep challenging. So we worked with city planners, educators, even real estate boards. We helped create training modules on how aesthetic standards had historically been used to target marginalized groups. We advocated for adding civil oversight officers neutral, trained mediators who could step in when neighbor disputes escalated beyond control. We pushed for HOA reform statewide, and we lobbied at the national level. Karen, meanwhile, remained in state custody. No appeals granted. Her attempt to publish a memoir fell flat. The publisher dropped her after community backlash. Her former supporters faded into silence, and the people she once tried to control, they found their voices. A few months later, Alana and I returned to the spot at the farmer's market where everything had changed. There was a new bench. On it, A bronze plaque read, "In honor of Alana Carter, who stood strong when her dignity was pulled and never let go of the truth." We sat there quietly for a while. Vendors smiled at us. A girl in a wheelchair rolled by and waved. Her mom whispered, "She knows your story." Alana smiled back, her hand tightening around mine. "I didn't think I'd ever feel safe here again," she said. "You didn't just come back." I told her, "You rebuilt the ground beneath all of us." That night, we sat on our porch and watched the wind move through the flags. We'd kept ours up, our original Black Lives Matter garden flag. Now it sat beside another, one that read, "This neighborhood belongs to everyone." I still think about Karen sometimes, not with hatred, but with clarity. She built a world where rules were weapons, where conformity masked cruelty, where silence protected the powerful. But in trying to erase one woman's voice, she awakened 1,000 others. And together, we rewrote the rules. Not with clipboards, with courage. The end.